Junior middleweight unification fight. Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano. Let's talk about it. Well, fight fans, it has been a month since I talked to you all. To be honest, I did not see any fight from the NUA fight up until last night, the Charlo Castano fight. But it's good to be back talking boxing with you. Brian Castano against Jermell Charlo. The fight ended up being a split decision draw. I'll start out by saying that I picked Charlo in this fight. I actually picked him by unanimous decision. My thought process was that he would win this fight like 115, 113. I thought that it would actually be a close fight, and it did end up being a close fight. Even though just from what my eyes saw, I think that Brian Castano won the fight, but I'm not actually disappointed with a draw. When it got to those last rounds, I kind of thought that it may be a draw. I kind of thought that Jermell Charlo closed the fight, especially with that 10th round where he got a little more active. But if Brian Castano would have won the fight, I would have had no issues with that. Let's talk about the pros and the cons. Let me start with Brian first. He was game. The pros, he was game. He was up for the fight. He was not intimidated due to the fact that he was fighting not only in another country, but in the home state of the guy that he was trying to unify with. I like the jab that he was throwing, the double jab. I love the body work. A lot of times when he thought that he had Charlo hurt, he did not get wild and start going head hunting crazy like some guys do. He went to the body and then tried to come up top and maybe get him to lower his hands to hurt him more. I did like the foot movement. His hands were actually faster than I thought that they were from seeing him before. He had pretty good hand speed. As far as the cons would be, I don't really have any cons for Brian Castano. Let's move on to Jermell Charlo. The pros would be he worked behind the jab. He was throwing that hard, straight right hand. He did a decent amount of body work. He took some hard punches good. He rolled with some of those punches, but some of those punches he caught flush and he took them. He also was counter punching. Castano was basically doing the same. As far as the cons, the same for Charlo, nothing. I have no cons actually for either of the fighters. I thought both of these guys actually fought a good fight, and I don't really see a whole lot more they could have did different. The only thing maybe could have been different is Charlo could have been more active. Let's talk about the fight a little bit. I like the fact that this fight was a measured, action-packed fight. It was not a crazy slugfest. Both fighters were in there playing chess. Both fighters were in there trying to counterpunch. I noticed that after the second round. Both guys looked like they were looking to counterpunch each other's jab, which made for an exciting fight. No one got knocked down, but I do think that both fighters did hurt each other. Now, at the end of the fight, Jim Gray asked Jermell Charlo what did he want to do. To me, and this is just my opinion, I think that he was a little hesitant to say that he wanted a rematch. We know that Jermell Charlo has heart, and we know that he wants to unify, but it kind of reminds me of what Roy Jones once said. Sometimes when you're in there tough with a fighter, the best thing to do if you survive the fight is just to move on. Kind of like a Deontay Wilder, right? Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, lost that first fight to Tyson Fury. He definitely lost the second fight, regardless of all the allegations. I have no idea other than his pride in his heart why he wants to fight Fury again. I'm bringing that up to say is that I feel like Deontay Wilder should just move on. I feel like that's what Jermell Charlo is maybe wanting to do here with Brian Castano. I think that he wants to just move on, but of course he's not going to come right out and say that. As far as Castano goes, I think that he does want the rematch. I mean, he probably feels like, what does he have to lose? You know, I'll come back over here and do it again. But that's what I would like to see. I would like to see the rematch. I would like to see these guys, the number one, number two in the junior middleweight division, fight again, and let's get a winner and get a true unified champion. But what about you all? Did you enjoy the fight? And what do you want to see happen? Do you want to see these guys go their separate ways and maybe fight a mandatory and then come back, or do you want the rematch right now? Also, who did you pick to win a fight? Now, I'm talking about before the fight. Who did you pick to win? And did you enjoy did you agree with the outcome that it was a split decision draw? Like I said, I have no issue with it. The only thing that I do have an issue with that I didn't mention was that 117-111 card for Charlo. That was very disrespectful. The fight was much closer than that. 115-113, 114-113, 114-114 is more like it. But 117-111 is very disrespectful for such a good fight. Other than that fight, fans, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can talk boxing. Other than that, that's all I got. I'll let y'all later.